We'll see. Let me double check. This is my first time, so bear with me on this. First time live streaming to. There we go.
We'll see.
Okay, cool. Awesome. So, hello everybody. How's it going? I'm your host, Mitch Fesser, and this is Just Mitch Movies, the podcast. So, I wanted to come on tonight because there was a lot of movie news that came out both today and haven't done a podcast in a couple weeks. I think the last one that I did was when was it? I think it was like right before the Inside Out. I think yep, it was. It was right before Inside Out. Inside Out 2 came out. I had a lot of predictions on what was going to happen there. I wanted to really come on here. Just want to talk about what's going on with Hollywood this year. High quality H2O. And here's what I've been noticing over the past couple months. I don't know if it's because people just don't want to go to the movie theaters or there's just not high quality films coming out this year, which I personally, somebody was mentioned like, oh, there's not much good stuff coming out. I think that's a lie because since I did my last episode of this podcast, it was right before Inside Out 2. I saw Inside Out 2, loved it. It was phenomenal. It's making Disney a bunch of money, already $1 billion. I saw Kinds of Kindness from Searchlight Pictures, and it was really good. If you haven't watched my short review on that lately, I definitely recommend you do because I really enjoyed Kinds of Kindness, and I'll get back to that. I saw A Quiet Place, day one. It was okay. It wasn't the best out of the series, but I expected that. I saw Horizon, the Kevin Costner movie, and I will be talking about that tonight. I personally just could not stand that movie. It was so beyond bad. I don't know why Costner's making 2, 3, and possibly 4. I also saw Daddy-O with Sean Penn and Dakota Johnson. Loved it. It was phenomenal. I will talk about that movie to the ends of the earth. It was so good. The week after, yeah, I did 2 double features a few weeks ago, and I actually have another one planned this week, so pray for me, everybody. The week after, what did I see? What did I see that weekend? Oh, whatever, it doesn't really matter. But if you take away Horizon, the great American saga that Kevin Costner made, every movie that I went to see in June was a phenomenal film, or at least halfway decent film. The only bad one that I watched was Horizon, and the reason why I didn't enjoy that movie was because it had no plot. There was no point in having that movie out whatsoever. And here's my thing about Hollywood and its obsession with the old school actors such as like Kevin Costner and Clint Eastwood and whatever. Kevin Costner, he can make whatever movie he wants. He makes a ton. He's great actor, great director, whatever. But did we really need a 4-part Western miniseries film, whatever he's trying to do? I didn't think so. I personally did not think that we needed a 4-part, 5, 6. I was reading the other day, like, Costner wants to make a 6-part series in this Horizon thing. And I saw the movie, and my hopes were pretty high because it was, I want to say, when I made the video back in January, it was like my 5th highest anticipated movie of this year. I know it's in my top 5. I know that for a fact because we haven't seen a Kevin Costner Western in really, hell, I don't even remember last time he did a Western, unless you count Dance. And forget about Yellowstone. Forget about that. I haven't watched that show. I'm hoping to watch it soon, but forget about Yellowstone. Yes, that whole series was nothing but Yellowstone. I just personally see a lot of these filmmakers nowadays, like Kevin Costner, they think they know what audiences want. They don't. Nobody, and I mean nobody, they didn't ask for a 4-part Western epic. Nobody asked for that. In my personal opinion, if Kevin Costner wanted to do what the audience wanted him to do, and I am an audience member, I wanted him to make another baseball film. Because that was his bread and butter back in the day. That's what got him his start. It was Field of Dreams, Bull Durham, For Love of the Game. I want another Kevin Costner baseball movie. That's what I wanted. I didn't want a 3 or 4 part Western epic kind of movie. And newsflash, that movie is not making enough money. It would not surprise me if the second part that comes out in August next month, it's going to make even less money than this first one. This first one hasn't even cracked $15 million, and it's been out for almost a month. It's been almost 2 or 3 weeks. And this next one that's coming out, it doesn't look any better. There was no new footage. I mean, there was at the end of the movie, spoiler alert, but other than that, I don't care. I didn't care about the movie halfway through, and it was, if I wanted to watch a good Western film, I would have turned on, I think it's on Max, I would have turned on Clint Eastwood's like Fistful of Dollars, or A Few Dollars More, or The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, or I would have turned on Dances with Wolves. I know it's not considered a Western, but it's certainly better than that bag of dog shit that I saw in theaters. It was so much better. If I didn't want to waste my time, I would have went to go see Kinds of Kindness again. That's the kind of movie that I wanted to watch. Kinds of Kindness was a movie that, I don't want to say it made the audience think. It was a movie that was so freaking weird. And that's what a lot of movies are nowadays, is they need to be a little bit more weirder. More weirder. That's not even a word. But kinds of, if I compare the two, because that's what, no. Yeah, I want to also add Daddy-O in here. You have, because I saw, it was that week, I saw Kinds of Kindness, then A Quiet Place. That was the two of the double feature that I did at the beginning, or the end of June, I think. Yeah, it was like the last week of June. It was a Thursday, I did that. Then Friday, I did Daddy-O and Horizon. If I had to choose with those 4 movies in those 2 days, if I had to choose to do a double feature with those 4, and I had those 4 movies as a choice, I would have chosen Kinds of Kindness and Daddy-O. And the reason why I say that is because, and don't get me wrong, Quiet Place, it was a good movie. It was at least halfway decent. I would definitely recommend it, especially if you were a fan of the first 2 films. That series is, for the most part, it's a good series. The reason why I chose Kinds of Kindness and Daddy-O is because they had phenomenal casting. With Kinds of Kindness they had Jesse Plemons, they had Emma Stone, Willem Dafoe. We love those guys. And Daddy-O, it had Sean Penn and Dakota Johnson. And Daddy-O, I have to point out, those two, Dakota Johnson and Sean Penn, were in that movie the entire time. For the full hour and a half, hour 45 minutes, they were in that movie the entire time. With Kinds of Kindness, the actors that I mentioned, they were in a good chunk of the movie. I can't really say much about it because, for risk of spoilers, I mean, you guys have to go see the movie to believe it, because it's just one of those movies that you can't take my word for it, because it's just that kind of movie. But again, those kind of movies, they were original, they had phenomenal acting, their direction was great. It was the kind of movie that I feel that Hollywood now, especially this year, they've been leaning way too much towards what used to work. But it doesn't work now. Everybody went to go see, like, The Fall Guy. Nobody went to go see Fall Guy. I went to go see it, and I enjoyed it. But no one went to go see it, because, for reasons I don't know. And you figure, with that cast, you had Ryan Gosling and you had Emily Blunt. Those two, they're A-listers from last I checked. I mean, Ryan Gosling's coming hot off the heels of Barbie. So, and I was thinking about this the other day. Why isn't anybody going to the movie theaters? It's because a lot of the product that has been coming out lately, it's just not been good. It hasn't. But now, a lot of people have been saying, like, oh, it's because there's so many sequels or there's so many remakes, which, yes, that's fair. And I did an episode on the remakes and the sequels a couple weeks ago. But whether you like them or not, the remakes, they're making money. Or at least they were back whenever they started. But I don't know. I was really disappointed when I found out that Fall Guy bombed, because I watched it. It was good. Now, I never watched the series. I think my mom watched it. Or somebody in my family has seen that show. And I've heard good things about the show, but I personally believe that the reason why The Fall Guy didn't be a success is because not only is Hollywood not doing what the audience wants, I think the audience is trained to be so glued to, like, franchises and whatnot. Because, I mean, I'm not going to lie, when I found out that Shrek 5 is coming out today, I mean, we all knew it was coming. Shrek 5 has been in development for years. But when I found that out, I'm just like, good God. Because that year, in 2026, we're going to have Shrek 5 in May. And then right after, you're going to have Toy Story 5 in June. I mean, as much as I love Toy Story and as much as I love Shrek, nobody asked for those movies. But the reason why they're being made is because people went to go see, like, Toy Story 4 and Toy Story 3. Both those movies made $1 billion. I was surprised when they announced Shrek 5, because nobody went to go see Shrek 4. I mean, they did, but not near as much as people went to go see Shrek 1, 2, and 3. I know Puss in Boots, the sequel, what is it called? The Last Wish? I haven't seen that yet. I have not seen it. But to me, it just doesn't really, I think part of it is, Hollywood's just, I think also part of it is they've been talking about how they need to, like, make it to 2025 because of what everything has been, especially after the strikes. But it was really so disappointing when I found out that, like, Fall Guy tanked, and Furiosa. When I still haven't seen Furiosa, but when I found out that it bombed, I'm just like, everybody went to go see Mad Max Fury Road. I mean, what? So I came on here tonight to talk about it, and I wanted to see what you guys think. Why do you guys think that you have so many movies tanking? Now, doing a little segue on another movie, when I went to go see Inside Out, I knew as soon as that movie came out, when I saw it, when I watched it, I'm just like, oh yeah, this movie's gonna make a lot of money. But it's just one of those deals that when I saw it, it was such a beautiful movie. The cast was great, the story was great, direction was great. Even though it was an animated movie, but that was something Hollywood really needed, because right before that, it was like bomb after bomb after bomb. Garfield didn't do well. Furiosa didn't do well. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes did okay. Like, it made more than its predecessor at the domestic box office, but not at the worldwide box office. But again, it's another case of as an audience member myself, as someone who goes to movies every week. I'm seeing 4 movies this weekend. I know I'm seeing Twisters next week. Got my tickets for Deadpool and Wolverine. I see movies like crazy. I see movies like it's my job, pretty much. Hence why I'm trying to do YouTube. But nobody's asking for some of these movies. Especially with Horizon. Nobody asked for it. Everybody wants something original nowadays. And if they don't want something original, they want a sequel. Or, I've never heard of anybody ask for remakes before, but they want sequels to films that aren't necessary. Like Gladiator. The Gladiator trailer came out today. I watched Gladiator. It's good. I don't think it's a classic, as much people say. But was it really necessary to have a sequel? Was it really necessary for Gladiator to have a Gladiator Part 2? Now, granted, I really enjoy what the cast is doing after the trailer. We got Denzel Washington. Ridley Scott came back. Awesome. Fantastic. But nobody asked for a Gladiator Part 2 literally almost 30 years after the first one. Gladiator does not need a sequel. It really doesn't. What other story can you tell other than the fact that the Roman Empire, it needs to be taken down? Spoiler alert, y'all. The Roman Empire, it goes away. It does. So, I just hope it's not 3 hours. I mean, as much as I love 3-hour long movies, I'm gonna go see it. I think I'm gonna do the Wicked-ator or Glad-o-Wicked double feature that they're doing with Wicked. But I just don't. I don't care. I don't care about the Gladiator Part 2. I never cared about Gladiator 1 in the first place. So I feel like Ridley Scott could have done something so much more with his time. Hell, in my opinion, I want Ridley Scott to make another Alien film. I know he's executive producing this new one, but that's what I wanted him to do. I wanted him to make another sequel to Alien. But that's the thing. That's what audience members are so... They're starting to catch on to this. They're starting to catch on that Hollywood either makes sequels that aren't necessary, they make something that doesn't matter, like Horizon, the Western that I talked about, or they just go and remake something. On the other side of that remake coin, if anyone has seen the Nosferatu trailer, that's a movie that I'm very excited to be remade, because it's been 102 years since the silent film back in 1922. And when I watched that trailer, I'm like, okay, this is a remake that I think can actually work. And people are going to go see it, because it's a Robert Eggers film. I've never seen a Robert Eggers film not do well, whether it's critically or commercially. I take that back. The Northman I knew tanked, but that's because it was during COVID and it wasn't marketed well at all. I don't remember seeing any trailers. I don't think so. I have to double check that, but I never saw a single trailer for The Northman when I saw it in 2022. That was with my buddy Zach for Excellent Little Podcast. When we saw it, did I see a trailer for it? I might have, but when I saw it, I'm like, oh man, this is a great film. Now I haven't seen The Lighthouse yet. I'm hoping to see it within the next couple days. I think it's on one of the streaming services that I have, but I think it is. I have to double check that. But it goes back to the fact that, and like, or The Crow. That's what I was trying to get at. I couldn't think of it. Who asked for a remake of The Crow? I mean, I know it's been 30 years since the original. They've had a few sequels. But really, who wants a remake of The Crow or a reboot of The Crow? Someone tell me that. Really tell me. I guess again, that's a movie I don't care about. I'm going to see it because I have to. But I don't care. I don't care about The Crow. Literally, I don't care. And if you want, you know what I want. You know what I want right now when it comes to Hollywood films. I want either Spielberg, Zemeckis, somebody, or Scorsese, or any of the or the great American filmmakers. I want them to write something totally original. I know Zemeckis is making something with Tom Hanks and Robin Wright. I want them to make something so original, completely original. They write the script themselves, or Spielberg gets Tony Kushner, or Zemeckis gets somebody to help him. I think Zemeckis tends to write the scripts more often than himself. But I want them to write something totally original. No, not based on any book, not based on any TV series, not based on an anime. Well, take that back. Based on anime, that's fine. But I think that's what I've been trying to say here tonight is audience members, they're not used to originality anymore. Whereas the big film buff like myself, I'll go and watch an original film all day long. I love seeing original films. Now, Horizon, yes, you could say it's an original film, but it sucked. It was terrible. But that's because it was a Western that had nothing to do with anything, and it was just poorly made. But I mentioned Kinds of Kindness earlier. Daddy-O. Those are two original films, and they were phenomenal movies. I had a better time watching those two movies than I had while seeing Horizon. And both of them were literally almost 2 hours shorter because Horizon was like 3 hours long. Kinds of Kindness, I think, was like 2. It was right at 2 hours. And Daddy-O was about an hour and a half. I had a better time in half the time with Daddy-O than I did with Horizon. But that's the thing. I am so used to... yes, I am, because I appreciate everything Marvel has done. Take away a few films like Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, and a few other things. But I still appreciate a good original film, you know? And again, I want somebody, whether it's Zemeckis, Spielberg, whoever. You know what I want Spielberg to do? I want him to make something similar to Close Encounters of the Third Kind or E.T. I want him to make something close to that. Those two movies were one of the most original films he has made in a long, 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 long time. He hasn't made an original film like that in any of those in years. I mean, yeah, you could make the case of, he's been making a few other films. I know he did. Well, let me take that back. What was the movie? Oh, The Fabelmans. Well, you could count that as a original film, but I would... that was more based on his life, I think, Spielberg. Yeah. That was more based on his upbringing and what got him into films. But and it's just and with the a bunch of other films, really, other than I think that's why the box office is struggling now. This past year is because you don't have great original films, and if they are great, they're not marketed. I didn't even know Daddy-O even existed until a week before. I didn't know Kinds of Kindness existed until a month before. I was getting trailers for Horizon. I don't even know when that happened. I just think that Hollywood is starting. I don't think it's running out of ideas yet, but it's getting close. And it worries me a little bit. Because how many times are we going to see the same stupid stuff over and over again? How many times are we going to see Spider-Man get rebooted, or Batman get rebooted, or anything get rebooted, or The Lion King get remade? And that's another one that's being added to this little deal here. I just like Mufasa. Who asked for a Mufasa movie? I mean, I'm gonna watch it. I am, but I didn't ask for it, and I also didn't ask for Lin-Manuel Miranda to make the songs. Now, did I? And that's the thing. Who's putting him in charge? But that's a story for another time. Because literally, I mean, he's great. He's great at what he does. Great at Hamilton. Did great for Moana. But Lin-Manuel Miranda, we're really doing well here. We really are. And it's just really frustrating because it really pains me to hear all these movies bomb. And it's not just a few. These are movies that they should have made a ton of money. 2024 should not be, in terms of Hollywood box office, it shouldn't be as bad as it is. I'm sorry, it shouldn't be. But Hollywood hasn't had a hit other than Inside Out 2 all year long. Sure, yes, you can say, like, okay, they've had successes. Oh, yeah, that's fair. They have had successes. But they haven't had a hit. And when I mean a hit, I'm talking about just a big splash at the box office. They haven't had that other than Inside Out 2. They haven't had that all year. They haven't had that happen since Barbie and Oppenheimer. And Barbie stopped making money around, I think it was pulled out of theaters in October. Maybe December. I don't know. That's something I need to check on that. But right after that, and you can make the case of the strikes. You can. You can make a case of the reason why people aren't seeing movies is because the strikes were happening. They couldn't market it themselves. They couldn't talk about it themselves. That's true. That's very true. Like the Marvels. No one went to see the Marvels because it wasn't marketed well at all. No one talked about it because it was in the middle of the strike, and the movie was just bad. But then again, 2023 was not good for Marvel anyway, because you had Ant-Man and the Wasp, which was bad. You had the Marvels, which was bad. You had Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which was good. But it, again, that I think, I'm surprised it didn't make as much more than what it did, because it was good. I really enjoyed Guardians 3. But I also feel like a lot of people didn't want to see it right away because I think they thought that James Gunn was more focused on his DC responsibilities, and I think he was just making it just to be made. But it was good. He did exactly what needed to do. He closed his trilogy of the Guardians films, so I can't fault him for that. I also, going back to why I think people just aren't seeing any of these movies. I hate to say it, but even though, no, Hollywood's not running out of ideas just yet, the ideas that they have been running into, they have been getting steadily worse and worse and worse and worse. Gone are the days of great filmmaking. Gone are the days of, let me strike that. Great filmmaking, it's still there. We see great films all the time. We see them at the film festivals. We see them at the Oscars. We see them all over the place. Gone are the days where audience members, they go and see the movies that are made to be great storytelling films. And I think that's because we're so, like I mentioned earlier, we're so used to seeing sequels. We're so used to seeing superheroes and remakes and all that fun stuff. But to me, I think we're starting to lose the idea of films. We're starting to lose the purpose of great storytelling and great films. And I noticed that around... When did I notice that? I think I noticed it around... I noticed it right around the time when COVID hit. Because... Trying to backtrack it here. Because in 2012, I went to see Lincoln, directed by Steven Spielberg, of course. And that theater was packed. Now, granted, I saw it in Illinois, which was Lincoln's home state. Not his birth state, his home state. And that theater was packed. But that's because that was an original movie. People love Abraham Lincoln. People went to go see it. But 2013, didn't really see anything. But again, I never had a chance. And that could be a story for another time. But... Then I moved down to Florida. And that's when I started seeing movies that were, I don't want to say Oscar bait, but they were made to be won at the awards. I can't think of any of the movies off the top of my head, but they were always released like in November, December, and things like that. But then COVID hit. That's what killed them. That's what killed the movie making and the movie watching experience, because once COVID hit, everything went to streaming. Everything that would have been considered Oscar worthy or award winning, whatever, it all went straight to streaming during the 2020 and 2021 set of film noir, if you will. And I think, and honestly, has Hollywood dig itself into a hole? It's close. It's close. But I think it's not just Hollywood's fault. I think it's because you had COVID, you have the strikes, where the audience members, they're so used to seeing remakes, sequels, all the superheroes. And as a superhero fan myself, I'll go and watch superhero movies all the time. I literally have a ticket for Deadpool and Wolverine. And even though I don't think it's going to be good, I wouldn't count it as a superhero film, but it's based on a comic book. Or I think it's based on a comic book, The Crow. I'm still going to go see it, of course. And next year, with all the Marvel movies, I'm going to be one of the first people in line to see those movies. And I'm very excited to see Superman. But as much as I love going to those movies, it's really hurting the original film's ability to make money at the box office. And it's really sad because back in the day, like with the 70s and the 80s, some parts of the 90s, Oscar-winning movies, they were making a decent amount at the box office. Like Silence of the Lambs. That made bank. That made a decent amount of money. And now, for films such as like The Whale, with Brendan Fraser. The only reason that movie was successful was because, it was Brendan Fraser's comeback film. And it was a good movie. It was. And I really had a nice glimmer of hope in 2022 with Everything Everywhere All at Once, because that movie made a shit ton of money. And I was proud of that movie for making for making as much money as it did. It was glorious. I so much enjoyed watching that movie. I was so proud to be an audience member and watch the most original movie I had ever seen. It was such a beautiful movie. And I was so happy that people were going to see it, even though it was during, I don't want to say it was the height of the pandemic, but it was still, people were still getting sick. It was like early 2022, I think it was. And I saw the theater was packed. I saw how much money it was making. A24 made a big deal out of it. And I was like, oh, yes, this is great. It's an original movie. People are going to go see it. This is awesome. But then 2023 hit with the SAG-AFTRA strikes. Now no one is seeing these original movies, and it's so disappointing. Because again, it's because Hollywood's afraid to make original movies now because we, the audience members, were so used to seeing sequels, remakes, and superhero films. But now it's getting to the point where they don't even want to see those movies now. Like Furiosa. It tanked. That's a prequel. Lightyear in 2022, even though it wasn't that great, it was still kind of a sequel or spin-off, part of a franchise. It tanked too. I think whenever it comes out, if Toy Story 5 and Shrek 5, they're going to make a lot of money at their opening weekends. That I will say here and now, that will happen. But if those two movies tank and they don't make a lot of money or don't make enough as what they should, you will see Hollywood all across the board. They're all going to look at everything and be like, okay, what happened? Why are these two franchises not doing well enough? I have hope that it's not going to happen because a lot of people predicted Inside Out 2 wasn't going to be enough, especially almost 10 years after the first one. But the fact that it made a lot of money, I think it hit $1.1 billion, I think last I checked. But the fact that that is making a lot of money, it has me happy. And it has me filled with hope that, okay, that's what it needed. It was still a sequel, but it was still an original story. And I'm really hoping that Hollywood finds a way within the next couple years that they look at each other and they say, hey, what do we need to do to not have a 2024? Forget about the pandemic. Forget about the streaming wars or whatever. Hollywood still has the ability to make great movies. We see it every year. We saw in 2022 with Everything Everywhere All at Once. We saw it with Barbie and Oppenheimer. Barbie and Oppenheimer was a phenomenon because both movies were great. I think Barbie got robbed at the Oscars, especially Margot Robbie and Greta Gerwig. Greta Gerwig got robbed of a Best Director nomination. But that's the thing. I'm hoping Hollywood just looks at those movies. They look at Oppenheimer, they look at Barbie, they look at Everything Everywhere All at Once. And they're like, see, this is what people want. They'll go see sequels, they'll go see remakes. Yes, that's true. But audience members, they want to see original movies. They want to see epic films like Oppenheimer. That's Christopher Nolan's been here and his magnum opus. Everybody says it was Inception. No, that is a lie. Christopher Nolan's magnum opus was Oppenheimer through and through. He finally got his Best Director win, well deserved, but that's what people want to see now. They want to see films that are original. They want to see films that really get them involved. They want to see films that just really have this storytelling where they're either on the edge of their seat, they're really thinking, or they're laughing so hard they're crying, or it makes them sad, or that makes them really go back to wherever they were. And I think when Hollywood does that, and I'm hoping they get to that point, then you'll start to see movies go back to not having to worry about their box office numbers. Will it happen? I don't know. I know it's not going to happen this year because of how 2024 is too far gone. I think the studios, they need to focus on 2025 now. They should have started focusing on 2025 at the beginning of the year. And they did say, like, oh, let's hold off until 2025. No, they need to focus on 2025 now, because right now the box office is not looking good. So, having said that, I'm going to have to call it a night. I really appreciate everybody watching and listening. I do this for you guys. I really love talking movies. This was fun. This really was. I could see me doing this once a week. I hope you guys join me. I really had a blast talking about this. I'm really passionate about movies, so if you listened, if you watched, come back for more. You're going to find this podcast on YouTube at Just Mitch Movies, on Spotify, Just Mitch Movies, on Instagram at Just Mitch Movies, and TikTok at justmitch.movies. If you have a question, just shoot me an email at mmfester10@gmail.com. Thank you all so much. This was so fun. I hope to see you guys next week. And as always, I'll see y'all at